was quickly turning into my favorite handheld, even more than the Steam Deck, is the Analogue Pocket. For the Analogue Pocket, this thing was released in December of 2021, and it was under pretty high demand as it took a long time for most people to be able to actually pick one of these up. I just received mine a couple of months ago, and I had ordered it right when they came out. So there was a huge backlog for these things, and I can completely see why now since playing around with the Analogue Pocket. I absolutely love this thing. And one of the biggest things that has come recently to the Analogue Pocket is the second core being opened up, the FPGA core, where you actually can put on different emulators and then get all your ROMs and play them right onto this thing. Previously, when it was first out, there was only the single core that was opened up, and you had to actually play the cartridges in here. Now, you don't know anything about this device. This is a Game Boy. Well, a Game Boy that plays pretty much everything, every handheld console out there, at least via the actual cartridges themselves. You can get like Super Nintendo and NES and other emulators through the second FPGA core, which is something that is just a recent update, and the actual ways to get the Analogue Pocket to open up the second FPGA core, and you have to update it, and there's really easy software out there that does it for you. Kind of plug your Analogue Pocket in and then pick how you want to update it, and actually putting games and ROMs on this thing is also extremely cool. But this device here has blown me away since I've been using it. First of all, it's extremely high quality in terms of the way that feels. It's heavy, and the actual build and the screen and the casing and everything, and even the sound for this game, even the speakers, are all very, very good. As you can see, I'm keeping mine, trying to keep it in pristine condition. I don't know why I haven't taken this off yet, but I still have like the plastic backing on here, and here. Finally, it fell off on my screen, so I put a anti-glare screen protector on. Highly recommend a screen protector because this is the jewel of this device, is that screen. You do not want to scratch that thing up. But I love this thing. So I want to show you quickly some of the things that you can do right here with the Analogue Pocket. First of all, hit the analog mode, the analog button, I guess, and quit out here. And you get to decide whether you want to play your cartridge. Right now, I had this cartridge in here, Pac-Man Collection. I don't have that many cartridges available to me right now. I have a bunch of stuff packed up in boxes, but this is one that I had lying around, so I threw in Pac-Man Collection. I mean, it's always fun. You just throw it in there and click play cartridge, and it will open up and play the game. But we all know how that works. Now, the second FPGA core here, the open FPGA, this is where things get extremely exciting. This is when I got this, and this was available right away. I didn't have to wait like a lot of people had to wait for this open FPGA core, because obviously if you got it right at launch, it wasn't available. You hit open FPGA core and you literally can get access to anything that you want on here, any console, even stuff that I don't even know what is, like, I've never heard of some of these things before. I've heard of a lot of them, but like a lot of these emulators and the game, some of them are just games as well. Like Snow Bros 2, which is something I just played through, actually is pretty cool. In fact, you click on like here, Snow Bros 2, it'll open it up and run it, and you can take like screenshots, and there's a lot of, and you can do save states for a lot of this stuff. But keep in mind, the save states don't work with every single emulator. For example, I don't believe they work with the Super Nintendo, but I could be wrong on that. But there's memories. You got screenshots here. These are all the screenshots that I was taking of Snow Bros, because I thought some of the graphics in this game were pretty cool. But it runs extremely well. And for those who don't know this, what FPGA is, I mean, essentially it is taking a chip and emulating exactly the same chip that was on the console of that you're playing. So for example, if I'm playing GBA, the chip here will run the same way that it ran in the GBA. At least that's from how I understand it. You can see here, I don't know if it's represented that well on camera, if I can in here, just how beautiful the screen is on this thing. It really is what makes every penny worth it for the Analogue Pocket. And I've been going through, probably going to do a series on some of these GBA games that I'm playing, because I have been loving playing Game Boy Advance. It is such an amazing handheld. We forget how lucky we are right now with some of the stuff we have on handhelds. But if we go back to the GBA, I would say a lot of these games are more fun than those big AAA style games that we get, games that you're playing on the Steam Deck. These GBA games are good. I just finished The Legend of Zelda Minish Cap, one of the few Zelda games I didn't actually ever play before. I didn't realize that, but it was so fun. I've been playing through Astro Boy, Omega Factor, a really fun platformer. Playing some Advanced Wars, great as well. And I'm going to be jumping into a bunch of other stuff and playing some F-Zero as well, which was a launch title for the GBA, F-Zero Maximum Velocity. And it's just so great to be able to play all these things. But what sets it apart is you could say like, hey, I mean, why would you spend all this money on the Analogue Pocket when it's just emulation? You can emulate these things on pretty much any device nowadays. And the reason I would say I'm very satisfied with my purchase is that it's, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? Is that the screen, the way that these games play on the Analogue Pocket, it just looks so good, and it's having this screen dimension just feels so much better than having a bigger screen, even if you play on like the Steam Deck or something, or another different style of handheld, and then having those big black bars, like massive black bars on the side of it. Even though this is like a Game Boy screen, you're playing Game Boy Advance, you still have black bars at the top, but it's just so much better. The form factor really makes you feel like you're back playing these games like you were when you had the original console. And I love everything about the Analogue Pocket. It's probably my favorite handheld that I've had in a very long time. Probably my favorite handheld overall. I think I like it better than the actual Steam Deck. I've been playing more time on this than I have been in terms of using my Steam Deck and playing modern games. So if you are looking for this thing, I would highly recommend getting it. It is pretty expensive. I know here in Canada, because I'm in Canada, it costs $230 or $240. I think it's about $200 something. Honestly, worth every penny from everything that I'm playing. It's just so good, all of the different things that you can do on here, and just some other things here. You get all of the tools like the Nano Loop, the GB Studio. I think this is for making music, and this is for making like small games or whatever. And you have the developer stuff that gives you access to a bunch of different types of things, and even access to all of the core settings within these emulators. So you can like disable layers within the game, which is pretty cool. So if you go back into here, you can see the layers are gone. Obviously, you don't want to be playing games like that, but all of this stuff works. And I think since that latest update of the Analogue Pocket, it has made this device just that much more desirable from just if you have the cartridges. Because I mean, cartridges now, retro gaming and collecting is getting so expensive that it's hard to always go up and pick new cartridges. I mean, Game Boy Advance, you can still go to like those bargain bins and stuff and probably pick up a bunch. You're not going to get any of the rare or maybe not the best games out there, but there's so many good games on the Game Boy Advance. Still get some really cool RPGs and stuff. So Analogue Pocket, I just want to talk about and show it off because I'm absolutely loving this thing. And let me know in the comments below if you guys have an Analogue Pocket and what you think about the console.